Attention all you rule breakers, you misfits and troublemakers, all you free spirits and pioneers, all you visionaries and nonconformists. Everything the establishment has told you is wrong with you is actually what's right with you. You see things others don't. You are hardwired to change the world.
You are listening to the Spiritual Activist Radio Show, and I am Rahasya Uncensored, where we look at the world not as it is, but as we know it can be, if and only if we have the courage to question the answers we've been given. This is our world, and it's time for us to take it back. Hey, Bruce.
I am so glad to see you. I get nervous when there's like, nobody's there. All right.
Oh, believe me, I'm here, and I'm already recording too.
I see the little red dot this time, which I didn't pay attention to last time.
And I'm telling you, we all have so much on our plates that it's like tough sometimes. I really appreciate this, Bruce.
No, listen, I work with you anytime, you know that. You know, I appreciate what you're doing up there and your voice in that community. And that to me is a real important part of our evolution, to have that community. So I appreciate what you're doing so much.
Well, I really appreciate you too, Bruce. I think you already know that, but it's in today's world, it's just nice to voice that once in a while.
Well, we like each other a lot. Now let's turn on the public.
Let's turn it on. Okay, one of the things I've been telling a few of our listeners and readers that I was going to interview you. And one of the things I'd like to sort of focus on is I think most everybody knows about imaginal cells by now. If they don't, I encourage you, whoever's watching or listening to this, go to YouTube, pull up Bruce Lipton, imaginal cells, and really understand what that's about. Because I tell you, Bruce, that is probably the only thing that encourages me sometimes in my darkest moments to think that possibly there's a larger cosmic scheme of things that's really propelling us into a new future. Because as I look around, if it's just us, I really wouldn't give us too much hope. I think we've been at this window before.
Yeah.
We've messed it up, but right now it seems like the timing is crescendoing right to an apex of influences, cosmic influences, the need to be more than we are, the internal mechanism that we're going through of realizing that we don't have all the answers and stop looking for them in this 3D reality from the same level that created the problems. I don't think it takes a genius to figure that out anymore. So,
well, as you mentioned, this is a perfect storm.
A perfect
of
storm.
All contributing factors at one time coming in saying, guess what? It's the end of the line.
Yeah.
It's time you put up or shut up, because the game is coming to a conclusion if you do not change.
Yeah, I totally there with you. And I think we have a really, really good chance right now. And there's so many things in our reality that's pointing to this is a special time in history. I mean, everything from the Pentagon, supposedly they're going to release all their UFO information. You know, they've been releasing some pretty interesting videos and photos of alien craft coming in and out of the ocean and not even leaving a splash, which means it's a little bit more than just a dense object entering into the ocean. There's the financial system that we have pushed to the brink. I mean, you can only print up so much money and it becomes worthless. Our politicians, we can see that they've been compromised and it's impossible to trust them at this point. You know,
well,
because
this is a very important part of the story, because it has to break down before you can break through into the new place. You can't build on this existing system. So I try to get people to understand when you look at this chaos that's happening here, that's a very positive sign. I mean, no, you know, it could look very scary, but I say
Right.
it's the most positive sign because it says the system has flaws. We are bringing them to the surface. You know, it's like stuff floating up anywhere from Black Lives Matter, Me Too generation, Green Movement, all of these things that were under here. So, you can't build this beautiful thing that we want on this lousy foundation. So
Right.
definition is the foundation has to go. And so that's the beautiful part about, if you look at it, there's two ways to see it. If you believe your life is totally integrated in the existing way it is, this is trouble for those people, because it's like, no, it's falling apart, and it's a good thing, but you don't see it because you perceive your whole, you know, who you are is based on this old system. And I say, this is failing. You know, I don't, it doesn't make any difference to me in a sense of what you're holding on to, because what you're holding on to is a failed system that is causing our own extinction. And then I say, well, that's, you know, the whole butterfly story comes back in the imaginal cell thing, and it says, look, in the middle of that cocoon, a caterpillar is disassociating, that is falling apart. The cells are out of work. It doesn't work anymore. You can't do this anymore. It doesn't work. You have to create a new way. And that's the imaginal cells leading to this butterfly. So I say, it's the exact same thing that we're experiencing right now. We cannot do this old caterpillar life that civilization has been manifesting. You know, the voracious appetite of a caterpillar is unimaginable when you think how much that thing will eat. And then there's a point where, okay, it's like reach the limit, and then it goes into that meta, you know, that meta phase of changing from caterpillar into butterfly. The point about it is, in that cocoon, man, if you're a cell in that cocoon, you look around, you go, Jesus, the whole caterpillar is falling apart. You know, that was my job, digestive system, muscle. It's like, nope, no work. And I say, the relevance is, it's not sustainable, and that a lighter touch on the planet is required. So that voracious caterpillar turns into the butterfly with the lightest touch, hardly even lands on the planet, footprint is very small. And the idea is, that's our model, that we
Right.
need to understand that. And then I say, so that is the part that is hardest for most people in that cocoon, to switch their image from the old being their life to the new, which is really going to generate a better life. But in the middle of it is like, oh, no job. Oh, I'm out of work here, you know, healthcare, I don't know, and all these other issues. Yeah, because that is an example of old. So the hope that we have here between you and I is to really relay this message that the falling down is a very positive thing. And you go, how can this chaos be positive? I said, because if we kept it exactly the same, extinction is not 1,000 years from now, it's within the century. Because we're rapidly going down a hole. It's not a gradual slope. This is almost a drop off. If we don't respond soon, well, then enjoy what you have left, because we have no idea who's going to be surviving through this upheaval that's happening right now. And that just brings me to the point. So I have no idea what the future is, but then damn it, I'm going to enjoy this part that I have right now, because I don't know what that future is. And if I
Well,
put it off and say, oh, I'll enjoy this later, there may not be a later. So you don't get credit for holding off your good and say, I'll do it later. If you don't do it now, you may not be able to have it. So it's sort of live at the moment. And I think what's real important about that is, when we start living that joyous honeymoon, heaven on earth life experience, it offers an image for the other people who are lost in the chaos to go, wow, you know, I want that. That always reminds me of the movie When Harry Met Sally, and Sally faked an orgasm in the restaurant, and everybody in all the other tables were looking at her, and one woman says, I want what she has. And I think this is exactly what we are supposed to do. So it's a win-win for us, because if we're enjoying our lives, that was the whole intention, but a win for all of us, because if other people see that you can have a healthy, happy life, they'll gravitate toward that. Become the imaginal self that offers, hey, in the middle of all this chaos, guess what? There's a better world available. And then people will gravitate to that because they don't know there's another world available because they've been so programmed, locked into the video world and the online world, which is not this beautiful world.
Right.
And they live in this other place. And then when they look around at the world, when they come home, it scares them and they want to go back on the screen. And it's like, hell with the screen. If you're really
Yeah.
enjoying it, the last thing you want to do is look on the screen because this is a participatory evolution. It's not that we sit here and if we're very quiet and wait, evolution will happen. I go, no, we are evolution. So everyone out there that has been following you all this time, to me, represents other imaginal selves that have the opportunity to look, be what we want to be and not what we've been programmed to be. And
Yeah, and,
taking
and I
that
think
power
I
back.
think what you're saying right now, this is the importance of being in the now, because if you're in this present moment, you're less likely to play old tapes that are programmed us to see the reality in a certain way. And this is where it gets into the idea of perception. Like
Yes,
Dara and I, we have a lot of friends in this community that are having a tough time, and when they see us, we're pretty at ease, and it's like we are detached but not detached. And they ask us, how are you guys doing so good and so
ah,
happy? Well, it's perception. It's the way and this is gets tricky, Bruce, really tricky, because you don't you don't want to fall into the category. Like, I have some new age friends that they have a good perception, but they're not plugged in somehow, and reality just sort of rolls over them, and they end up going, what the hell just happened? you know
yeah, yeah.
there's perception, like the Middle Eastern saying, believe in Allah or God, but tie up your camel first. There's this three-dimensional responsibility that you have to balance out, believing and having faith and hope, but you have to take care of your immediate environment, your health, because I heard you say on the last talk you gave. I entered into that and I just listened, but you were talking about COVID. you know the best way to handle COVID is to be healthy and catch it. If
Absolutely.
if you catch it, it's all a done deal. Now you're part of nature. You're part of nature's reprogramming you to adapt to your environment in better ways. But people are so afraid right now, and
Well,
that's
this
that
is the
seems to be the
problem.
challenge.
Yeah, this is the problem because they're looking through filter glasses at the world and they're looking at a filter that other people installed in them. And that filter, it's interesting. I wish I could show it to you because I used to have a slide and I want to do it again sometime, is where I give the audience a pair of red glasses and a pair of green glasses, like sunglasses, one red, one green. And I made an image on a slide that if you look at it with the same image with the red glasses, it's love and happiness and joy, all the images reflecting that. But if you put the green glasses on, the same image all of a sudden is a scary ghost monster thing going on. And I enjoy it because what I do is I hand everybody the glasses. I say, pick a red or green. I don't care. Just put it on a pair of glasses now, and I'm going to show the slide. And then I say, is this a picture of living in love or a picture of living in fear? And all of a sudden you hear the audience, fear, love, fear, people yelling out because depending on which pair of glasses they had on, they had a totally different experience. And I said, now switch the glasses. And when they put on the other pair of glasses, they say, oh my God, this is a completely different world with this pair of glasses than with the previous one. I said, but the glasses are belief filters, how you look at the same picture, but what you will see versus what the person sitting next to you is going to see is going to be totally different. So the whole idea about this, I say, the world has everything in it, good and bad. Are you connected with your vision to only see the bad ones? Or are you connected with your vision to see the good ones? I go, well, it depends on your filter. And the filter that we've been programmed with is a filter of disempowerment, limitation, self-sabotaging behaviors without us even knowing it. And I think that's the most serious part. Yeah, there's a lot of New Age people that understand, oh, this is really great, but their lives don't match this. And I go, I'll go back to the very beginning with me. And I go, what? I was working on stem cells. I came across the insight of epigenetics, and my scientific conscious mind said, holy crap, if you understand this, you could create this most fabulous life. So I gathered as many people as I could pull into a room, and I said, I want to tell you about this new science that you can create this most fabulous life. And then they looked at me and they go, but Lipton, for a guy who says you know this, your life doesn't look that good. And it was a wake-up call. I said, wait a minute. Yes, I intellectually understand these rules to have this great life, but my life doesn't reflect that. And that's when I started to recognize that 95% of our life is not coming from that consciousness with all that knowledge that we have downloaded over the years, all those new age kind of people that read every book, saw every video, went to all the lectures. And I say, here's a test. Let me see if you understand all the things you read and saw and heard. And you take the test, you get 100. And I go, well, then how come your life isn't matching this? And the answer is because we're not using that consciousness in the creation. We're using a programmed consciousness, which is separate from the creator consciousness. And the programmed consciousness says for 1,000 years or 2,000 years, been a struggle of disempowerment, where there are powerful people and all of a sudden there are less powerful people, and the more powerful people love to control the less powerful people, to the point that we have 1% of the power people controlling the rest of us. Excuse me. But the point about it is we must wake up and recognize it. Our behavior has been invisible to us because when we are thinking, and that's the whole problem in the nutshell. I said, why? I said, well, conscious mind is a creative mind, wishes, desires, aspirations. You tell me what you want out of life, and whatever the answer you give me is coming from a creative imagination, which is conscious. And I go, well, how come you don't have that? And the answer is, well, for most people, and here's where the whole problem right here is, for most people, they don't recognize that 95% of their life is not coming from the creative conscious mind. It's coming from the programs downloaded from others, parents, community, and history. Okay. I go, so why is it relevant? I say, because they don't recognize the simple fact that either consciousness can put its hands on the wheels and drive your vehicle to where you want, wishes and desires, or consciousness can think. I say, what's the difference? I say, when you're driving the vehicle, you're looking out the window and going in the direction you want to go. When you're thinking, you're not looking out the window anymore. You're now looking inside. A thought is an inside job. So, if I said to you, tell me what you're doing on Wednesday, and it's not in front of you right now, I know in a second or two you'll think about it, and then you go, oh yeah, on Wednesday I'm going to do this. I say, where'd you get that information? And it's like, it wasn't in front of you. I thought about it. I go, yeah, but then when you thought about it, where was your consciousness? I said, it was inside looking for data. I go, but what if you're driving a car? And then you look inside for data with your conscious mind, then who the hell is driving a car? And the answer is, and this is the crux, subconscious is autopilot. When conscious lets go of the wheel, subconscious sticks in and starts driving. I said, but where's it taking you? Wherever the program was sending you. It was not your program now, because when you let go of the control, the program took over, but the program you got from parents, family, community, by observing them and downloading their behavior. And so the moment you start thinking, you let go of the control, autopilot steps in. And the problem is this. I said, well, what's the problem? I said, well, if you're looking inside and thinking about something, by any chance are you observing what's going on outside? And the answer is no. And I go, well, why is that relevant? I said, because when the behavior, the autopilot steps in, your consciousness is not observing that. Whatever behavior is coming out, that was a program. So, I think we've done this on a previous interview, but I've always come back to the same 30-year-old story in a lecture. Every time I give a lecture, it's the same 30-year-old story. And I say, you have a friend, you know your friend's behavior very well, and you happen to know your friend's parent. And when you observe that your friend has the same behavior as their parent, I joke, I say, well, you can't wait to tell your friend. You go, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. And I say, first thing, back away from Bill. The immediate response of Bill will be, how can you compare me to my dad? And I go, that, what's the point? Everyone laughs. I go, why? Because they're all familiar with it. I said, that's the most, of all the stories we talk about, perhaps the most profound story is this simple one. I go, wait a minute, what does this mean? I said, everyone else can see that Bill behaves like his dad. The only one who cannot see that is Bill. I go, well, what does that mean? I say, he got the program from his dad downloaded in the first 7 years of the behavior that his dad was expressing. But when Bill is thinking, he lets go of the wheel, goes inside, and then the program that he got from his father takes over. And I go, so what's relevant? I said, he's not observing the program on the outside. Whatever is playing is not observed by Bill, but observed by everybody else. And if it was a negative programming, Bill will unconsciously sabotage himself playing this program and yet never know he played that program. And I go, but this is the most profound, important story because we are all Bill. This happens to us every day. And this is the bigger problem of, yeah, I educated my conscious mind. I know all the rules to make a happy, healthy life, a loving life. I know all those rules. It's not happening. And then you ask that person, Bill, uh,
You know what, Bruce? I
what's
think,
going on? And here's Bill's conclusion, which is the public. Same one.
right.
It's not me. I wanted to be successful. It's the outside that is preventing me from going there. I am a victim of forces outside. And I go, God, that is the greatest mix-up of human understanding in the whole world, because it was playing disempowering programs when you're thinking, which is 95% of the day, and not observing you are the one that got this, because we are creators. That's the beautiful part. But nobody wants to own it, because if I say, well, if I'm a creator, then what the hell is all this out here? I go, well, you're a creator, but maybe you're not using your conscious creative mind, but you're just utilizing a program. And that program, by definition, has always been a disempowering program from thousands of years now. Why? Because they're powerful people and they want to control the other people. And now they know how to do it. And it's like, wow, you mean you can control people? I go, the Jesuits for 400 years have told people, give me a child until it is 7 and I will show you the man. And people go, yeah, yeah. And I said, do you understand what they just said? Most people, it's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I go, no, you don't understand what they said. That if they get the first 7 years of programming, 95% of the rest of your life is coming from that program. So whoever programs you in the first 7 years controls the rest of your life. And that's what they said. Give me the child until it is 7, and then I will show you the man, because the man is going to be a reflection of that program. So the idea is, are we programmable, controllable? I go, well, it's only been 400 years since the Illuminati type people, the leader people, have been aware of, yeah, I can control you. I disempower you in the first 7 years and I own you the rest of your life. And I go, exactly. And so our creative powers, our creative abilities are not being expressed, our personal ones. We are playing programs. And just to help, I'll stop right here, but just to help, one last thing. The programs are installed in the first 7 years of life, actually starting before we're even born, in the last trimester of pregnancy. I go, oh, that's when the programs are installed. Yeah, because that's where the brain was operating in a state of hypnosis and downloading. That's all it was doing, was downloading behavior of parents, family, and community, because that's how it learns behavior. So I go, yeah, well, the problem is that um, what was your program? I go, what do you mean? Well, you were programmed even before you were born. You want to tell me about that program? And people go, what do you mean program before born? I said, a mother plays music through the abdominal wall, put the speakers nearby while she's pregnant and repeats the same music. Guess what? When the baby is born and that music is played, the baby will instantly respond to that music with awareness. Okay. It's learning. It learns lots of things, which we get into some other time possibly, but it's learning. And I go, well, then if it was learning before you were born, then what was the program that you got? Of course, I don't know what the hell the program was. I wasn't even here, really. And I go, okay, you were programmed from birth, 0, during a whole year through 1. What was your program? I don't know. I wasn't there. Okay. You were programmed a whole year from 1 through 2. What was your program? And the answer is, I have no idea. So this becomes a problem because I say you've been programmed, but you have no recollection of the program because you weren't conscious when these programs were going in. So I say, well, that creates a problem because if I'm telling you the program is creating your life and you have no idea what the program is, then you don't have the connection between your life experiences and your program. And so this is the critical part because if you don't understand the program, then we're left with the fact that, oh, I'm a victim. And that's the give up. The moment you say I'm a victim of forces is the moment you gave up power because victim means I have no power. And so,
You know who I see really tuning into what you're saying right now? This will sound maybe a little bit odd, but what I've seen with the Black race, they're waking up to the victimization that they've been born into. And the friends that I have that are Black are telling me, we're tired of being victimized. We don't want to be the victim anymore. We want to be valued for the content of our being and not the color of our skin. We want
well, yeah,
people to
but
see us.
it's a wonderful intention, but the fact is this, if they're still claiming they're victim because other people are controlling their lives, that's why you can't resolve it because it's the victim didn't come from other people. It came from the programming of that individual who accepts the victim, accepts this as the way of life because that's what the program said I was. And it's not just Black people, goodness, the Native Americans.
Yeah.
I say, why is it relevant? Because the victim program, it's a program and it's acquired from other people. You are programmed to be a victim. You could be programmed to be a creator, but the powerful people don't want you to do that because then it upsets the balance that they have. So the point about this is we are denied that understanding of the victim. So the Black people may wake up and say, I don't want to be a victim anymore. I say, so what are you going to do about it? And they don't recognize the victim. It didn't happen because of the outside people that appear to make you the victim. The victim happened because your own creative picture puts you in the position of being a victim because that's what the
Right.
program is. And then you accept, and then you turn around and say, I don't like being a victim. You did this. I go, no, you were programmed to accept victim. You want to change victim, then you have to change program, not change the victimizers or the ones who make you the victim, because it was you that, in a sense, brought them into your reality. And people don't want responsibility. That's the other part. They go, well, no, I wouldn't. I don't want to be a victim. It's those people. I'm not accepting this. I go,
Yep.
well, that's the problem because the moment you say I'm not, I'm disconnected from this, then by definition now you are a victim because
I
you've given
I
up
see
creativity.
I see what you're saying in the fact when I played the guitar and sang, I used to never quite sing as good as I could possibly sing because if I did and somebody said something, I could always say, well, I could have done better, you know. But
Well, that's the
as you
game of the program.
evolve, you get over that and you're willing to take on the repercussions of not being as good as what somebody else might think you should be, you know. And I think in life right now, I see this, it's like an awakening like throughout history, we've had this battle. The pendulum swings from collectivism to individualism, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. Collectivism being everything from a democracy to socialism to communism, individualism being the Republicans and Nazis and just the extreme on both
Those are
ends.
extremes. Those are
Those are
extremes
extremes, and we
because
we
there's a
go on this.
mid ground. There's a
Yeah,
middle
and
ground.
as we go through the mid ground, it gets precarious. And it's that point of awakening that a lot of people say, well, you know what, this is just too complicated, and they make up a story and they fall back into one way or the other. But now I think as we walk upon that spiritual razor's edge of precariousness, we're learning to balance ourselves between these two polarities and come up with a different way to see ourselves in the world.
100%. And the issue about this is that you have to give up your stereotype programming to visualize yourself where you sit in the world. But most people have no knowledge that there is even a programming. So they blindlessly just walk through this with, geez, this is not the way I wanted it, but this is the way it is. And I go, well, that's an acceptance.
Right.
And we're sold that acceptance. And I say, why? Because if you sold that acceptance that I'm a victim, then there's no challenges from you against the forces that be, because you would just accept it. Oh, I'm just the victim. And I go, no, we're creators. But the creation is 95% is not coming from you creating, it's coming from you taking the downloaded programs and then creating from those programs, not from wishes and desires, but from subconscious filters and programs, you know. And it's important because, as I mentioned, I don't know what the programs were when they were installed because I was not conscious. And then everybody goes, I don't know what the programs are. And I go, well, wait a minute. 95% of your life is an expression of the program. In reality, your life is a printout of your programs because that's 95% is coming from there. I go, so why is it relevant? I go, it's simple. Look at your life right now and recognize this, the things that you like, that you love, that you want, that come into your life, they come in because your program acknowledges them. But the trouble is you don't recognize the things that you strive for, work hard at, put a lot of effort in, sweat. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this happen. I go, why are you struggling to get to that destination? And the answer is because your programs that you currently have do not support that destination. So all of a sudden I say, oh, I have good programs that brought me this stuff, but I have, disempowering programs that prevent me from creating that. And until you get out of the program, you don't know you're in a program. It's a fish in the water.
But
Fish
Bruce,
doesn't know about water.
what about the sweat of our brow? That's how we're going to accomplish everything. You
No,
know,
that's the biggest problem of all because that says you have to work at this. I say, no, if you have the right program, you will automatically manifest what you want. But in the wrong program, you will automatically, activate a suppression of what you want because the conscious mind saying, I want to go there. And the subconscious mind saying, no, we're going to go there. You didn't even see the subconscious mind was engaged, much less even exist. And then you find yourself over here and go, geez, this is not what I wanted. And I go, that's because the program that it's a creator, you're a creator. Are you creating from your program? Or are you creating from your wishes and desires? Difference is, are you creating from the conscious mind or are you creating from the subconscious mind? And there's the problem right there. It says,
so
most
how
people's life
do
is
we
not
get
coming from your wishes and desires. No.
so how do we get from where some people are, because the world is so complex, so convoluted, and so many unknowns and variables that I look around and I see most of the people are making a simple story of how the world is now. And it's based upon survival, alleviating fear. How do we get them from that to releasing all of that and really stepping into the mystery of what we can become. Because even though we're imaginal cells, the fact that we're going to become a butterfly is locked up in our DNA as a code. And from the point of being in the chrysalis, we really don't know what the butterfly is. We just sense that something different is happening. How do we wake people up to that?
Well, the first thing is you sense that something is happening. And I go, exactly, because that's the radar that we send out that sends back something's happening and comes back to us. And then we try to maneuver through this minefield that we have been programmed to believe that is life. And then if you accept that as life, then you go through the minefield every day without recognizing, you could step out into this pasture and get the hell out of there. But no one is offering that. Then comes the bigger problem you brought up. Well, how do I get them to see it? And the answer, which I have found now after how many years of understanding this, I mean, from 1970 to now, what did I learn? And the biggest thing I think I've learned, and it's, and Margaret really helped me with this because I couldn't even see it, because I was out there trying to say, wake up, you got to see this other stuff is going on. And then it turns out that might be a very negative approach. Because people have these firm beliefs, and then you want to shake their structure. They're not ready for that. So I recognize, and with the help of others around me, even my office people say, Bruce, stop trying to convince people that they should do something other. Like when I talk about COVID, I got into trouble by saying there's this better way and blah, blah, blah. You can do all this and this is what's going on. They say, no, because if people believe in that COVID story and you go up and challenge them, they're more likely to sink back deeper and put the walls up and say, look, I understand my COVID story, so don't tell me. And I go, oh, I say, so what's the point? I say, only when people are ready to wake up, when they are ready to say, wait, let me reconsider my life and like that. Until they're ready to do that, if I go out there and push them, I actually put the wall up even bigger. So one of the things I learned is I cannot go out and change them. They can come over here and I can help them make a change, but I can't go chase them down because that pushes them further away. So this is a conundrum we're in. Yeah, a bunch of us see, boy, this thing is really screwed and we can have a much better situation. How do I tell them? And I think the only answer that after all these years, the only way I can tell them is to become who I want to be and then have them say, but I want what you got. That's the Harry met Sally, fake orgasm where the other customer said, I want what she's got. Why? I see what they got. I want hers. And I say,
Right.
So what we do, you and me especially, because we've been doing this a long time, is, okay, let's broadcast this information. Who's showing up? It's like fishing. Let's put the worm out there and see if anybody bites on this stuff. But I can't go out there and hit the fish over the head and say, come over here and bite the damn worm. So the reality is it is a conundrum because consciously we know better. Consciously we have experienced and have lived this. Consciously we would love to help other people. They're unconscious. I go, so you're going to take your conscious to wake up an unconscious person? I go, not unless they want to know, what is it? Why are you healthy? Why are you so happy in a time when everybody else is miserable and crying and falling apart? And when they want to ask those questions, that is the teaching moment. I can't go up and say, let me tell you why your life is falling apart. That's not a teaching moment at all. That's actually, don't tell me, and they're gone, and I lost it. So yeah, here's the hard problem. We're in chaos. We know answers. A number of us do, because imaginal cells start to look at the situation and go, oh, there's a better way to do it than that way. Let's go over here. But the other cells that are not imaginal cells are just lost in the chaos. And The only time that they're really ready to participate is when they're ready to ask, what is it? How did you do it? How come I'm having this problem? Things like that. Without their desire, I cannot make them move into a new world. That's up to them. They're, and that's our hard part. You know, you and I know this. Why? Because we've been living differently than the conventional people. And we find, guess what? The great rewards of love and happiness and harmony within our small little community of people who are resonating with this. The best resolution is when the other people start to feel like their life can't go any further, but I need to know from you, what did you do? How come in the middle of all this crap you're happy and healthy? It's like, I want what you got. Then the door is open. But
Yeah.
I cannot go knock on their head. Hey, wake up in there. They don't want to hear it. They got a vision. They're in it. And this is the big thing. The wonderful part that I offered in the book called The Honeymoon Effect is a very simple thing. I relate the story that we've all been programmed. So this is the movie The Matrix is a documentary. Everyone is programmed. There's no way from being an infant to adult that you haven't been programmed. That is the requirement. And I go, okay, so then the movie The Matrix is a documentary. And I go, yes, it is. But then they said, well, what about taking the red pill and getting out of it? And I go, most of you have already done it. And they go, what do you mean? I said, falling in love, that moment, head over heels, like I've met this partner. I am so, it may not last. I'm not saying, I'm just saying the experience when it first hits you, it's like, oh my God, this love is so beautiful. I go, your life every day, blah, 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 blah. I meet this person on this day, 24 hours later, no matter how crappy and blah, blah, blah it was up until that moment, from that moment on, all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, life is great. Life is beautiful. I'm happy. I'm joyous. I'm in love. The food's great. The music's great. The lousy job's not so bad. And I go, this is called the honeymoon. That's what I use to describe it. And I go, the honeymoon is what? Heaven on earth. Wow. You mean you have blah, 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 blah. And then one event 24 hours later, no, it's heaven on earth. I go, both of them are creation. What's the difference? Science has recognized that when you fall in love, it's the equivalent of a red pill. I go, what do you mean? You stop playing the program. I go, what do you mean? How do I stop playing the program? I say, you stop thinking. I go, you stay mindful. I go, what's that? Instead of putting your attention inside your head with all these thoughts, you are experiencing that honeymoon, that joy, that love, all the things going on around you in your environment, light up and glow and all that. And it's like, I don't want to think. I want to be here in this amusement park. And I go, what happens? You stop thinking. I go, so why is it relevant? It was the thinking that engaged the programs that you got. When you stop thinking, now you become a creator where you make the program. And what did you make? Health, happiness, joy, love, heaven on earth. From what? Stop playing the original program and just stay creative. Well, I say, well, why is it relevant? I say,
You know what's strange, Bruce?
yes.
As you're sitting there, I assume thousands of miles away, we're on Zoom, going through satellites and everything. What you're talking about right now, I I know enough about you to know that's true too, but I can feel the resonance of the experience that you're talking about with Margaret and what you two have done with your lives, you know? It's strange, huh? That how can that happen? It feels right here in the center of my chest that there's a
This is the beautiful
touchstone,
part. This is the Harry met Sally moment.
right?
That, oh, I want what you guys got. And I go, I want what I got. I didn't before, but boy, now that I've experienced this way, I'm not going back. That'd be the stupidest thing in the world because people don't recognize, why did the honeymoon start up? A, because you stopped thinking. Why did the honeymoon disappear? Because you started thinking. I go, why? Because when you stop, here's just simple point. When you met someone, the red pill, love happens right there. You stop playing the program. I go, yeah, but then what does that mean? I said, well, your life from this moment on is now coming from your wishes and desires. And your partner's life is coming from wishes and desires. And when two people are working with conscious mind creativity, they create heaven on earth. But once thinking starts after this honeymoon, for the honeymoon, you didn't think. But if you, the moment you start thinking, guess what? Then the behavior that's coming is not necessarily coming from here, the conscious wishes and desires. The moment you're thinking, the old programs from your mother, your father, and your family start showing up. And I go, well, what's the problem with that? When you fell in love, your partner never saw any of those programs. They only saw what you wanted to be. But the moment you start thinking, you start becoming the program that you got from other people. That's not you anymore. And your partner all of a sudden has to put up with, where the hell did that behavior come from? Because it was never part of the honeymoon. And boom, it just showed up. And I go, it was always there. It was in the subconscious, but we never played that. And I say, well, what's the consequence? I say, the honeymoon disappears because you can only stay mindful for so long. Why? Well, you've got jobs, destinations, things to review, your mind's going forwards, backwards, thinking, history. And I go, so why is it relevant? Well, once you engage that consciousness and all these other processes, you're only left with the program controlling it. And that program isn't you. And your partner will recognize it's not you and say, who are you? Where did that come from? And then the story of Bill steps in and goes, Bill didn't see he was playing his dad's program. My partner accuses me of some bad behavior. And I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Why? Because I didn't see what I just did. I was Bill.
Right.
And I go, this becomes the issue. And then the honeymoon disappears because no longer is it two creative wishes and desires manifesting. Now there's a subconscious mind, which is actually taking over 95% of the time. And most of those programs are self-sabotaging and disempowering.
You know, I can see exactly what you're saying. Like right now, we're talking on individual level, but you can expand that out to a collectiveness of society, whole organizations, whole racial groups, whole political groups are going through this on a macro level of not seeing what the problem is. And they're playing out the same original tapes that is unconsciously embedded into their system.
Well, this is the problem. If the tape is I'm a victim, but you don't recognize you're involved with being a victim, then it turns into a conflict. Stop making me a victim. But the reality was, I never made you a victim. You created that.
Right.
And that all of a sudden is personal responsibility. That is almost like an evil word in the world. You're personally responsible. It's like, not me. They did that. And the issue is, we cannot move forward without owning responsibility for our experience on this planet. Because the moment you give up and say, I'm a victim, then by definition, you are denying your creativity.
Well, if you claim victimhood too, you're actually giving your power away to some other force or being or agency, and then you're powerless. Even if it's in your mind, you're still works out as being powerless. So I think we're coming down to the end of this interview, unfortunately.
And it's recording, and I love that.
And it's recording. But you know, I think we've covered some interesting areas because we are at a transitional state and we can't go back. It's like of a morning when you're waking up from a dream, there comes a point where you can't go back to sleep. I mean, it's sort of fun in that twilight hour to go back to sleep and play with the dream, weaving in and out of your reality. But there comes a point where the dream no longer makes sense and you have to get up out of bed. And what is the first thing you realize? You have responsibilities. You have to go to the bathroom. You have to eat. You have to take care of this physical body. And I think in our case, we're waking up to our spiritual body and realizing that we have responsibilities there to feed that body with love and hope and caring and empathy, all the things.
That's a good part of the diet that most people don't recognize is part of the diet. It's not just the food. It's the experience you take in which is food, and it could be good food or it could be crap food, like we're industrial food. And I go, well, you took the experiences in and you assimilated them. And the question is, well, you have choices. You didn't have to do that, but no one knew it was a choice. It was just, we have to do this. It's like, really?
Yeah, in
And
the
here's a fun point. As you said, yeah, we have to take care of ourselves. We get up and go to the bathroom, whatever, and then we have to eat. We have to eat food to get all this energy and all that. And then it turns out, guess what? That's a belief too, because we now know that it might be up to 90% of your energy doesn't even come from food. It comes from assimilating the energy in the field and using that as biological drive force to create life. So a new understanding says, oh my God, eating food is actually, the amount that we eat is toxic to the system. And that what we have to do is profoundly reduce the diet. Why? For personal health. I go, yeah, but guess what? The moment you do that, you've changed the health of the entire planet. I do not have to cut down the rainforest in Brazil to make more frickin' hamburgers. Okay.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I said, yeah, our, amount that we take in, supersize me. It's like, well, where are you getting this from? Well, from the earth. I go, and how are you doing that? Well, but essentially we're destroying the environment to feed you, supersize. I go, stop supersize. That itself is killing you. And now we also recognize to supersize you, I have to kill the planet. I go, whoa, that's a double loss. And we have to change it. And this is all consciousness stuff. But it has to, consciousness is an awareness. And you can become aware, as I did, let's say when I understood epigenetics at that moment in 1970, and I could become aware, but did I use that awareness other than mental calculation? Oh yeah, if you use this awareness, you could create this whole life. And I had the awareness. So what? It didn't change my life because my life was not coming from the creative part. It was coming from that program.
Right.
And we must free ourselves. If you do not free yourself, by definition, you remain a victim. If you free yourself, you become a creator. And I can tell you, I lived victim for many, many years, even got consciousness and awareness, still victim, until it hit me that I almost said, well, do as I say, not as I do. And then realizing, well, if you're so damn smart about creating this life, why isn't your life, Lipton? Why isn't it better than what it is? And I realized that's the breakdown of, I'm not creating from that consciousness. I'm creating from a program, which is disempowering.
Yeah, you know what, Bruce? Sometimes when I'm interviewing you, it's a little bit awkward for me because I'm not thinking of the next thing I'm going to ask or engage with you. I'm so embedded into what you're saying. It sort of leaves me out here in the you know. Well, I
I'm
think
always out there myself. I love
maybe
being out
that's
there.
maybe that's why
Sometimes
we
being
get
here
along
is
so
not so
good.
much fun.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave it at that. That was a good point to drop off at. And once again, Bruce, thank you very much. Tell Margaret we said hello. And at some point, we need to get together.
I would love to do that. And your wonderful partner, who I never see on the screen, the whole idea is, I know this is all based on partnership and community. And the first community is you and a partner. And then once that is established, then the community gets bigger with family and local community. So, and I learned this in my whole life because I had trouble making relationships based on the program that I got from my father. No way would I find a relationship that was successful using his program. And that once I understood the nature of this, of my program, and was able to create a relationship with a support person. That's the beautiful part. It's a support person that helps you. They observe you like watching Bill play his dad's program. But if you have a partner, Bill had a partner, and he started to play his dad's program. His partner, could say, you know, by the way, that behavior that you're playing is, did you notice it's not supporting? Go, what behavior? I go, oh, I can change that behavior. And that's when a relationship works. A relationship fails when, remember, you came together with two creative wishes and desires. When the BS from the subconscious starts to show up, for most people, because they have no awareness of the things we just talked about,
Right.
they start to look at the partner who all of a sudden plays a bad program that they never played, and they start to blame them for the program. The partner has no idea even made the program, or she made that program. And then it leads to not an evolution, but a devolution, because and most people turn it into arguments.
Right.
And they distrust each other, and it's a breakdown. The bond is broken because that other behavior sucks, but they didn't know it wasn't you, because no one ever told them that there were two yous, conscious and subconscious. And so you group them together, and then you get blamed for the bad behavior, and you didn't even have any idea that you had bad behavior. So the evolution has to be, everybody has to understand this foundation, so that when they do get together, we don't, you know, kill the person because they came up with a bad program. When you have awareness, when that bad program comes up, there's an opportunity for discussion and evolution by changing the program. But most people have no idea the program's there. So then you can see why this has always created a problem, because
Right.
then I personally get blamed, you know, for things I didn't even know I was doing, because they were automatic programs. I'm not a Christian by training or anything. That I mean, in the broad sense, the lower C Christian, the idea of harmony and community and all that I'm into. But I do remember a couple of things from the training. And the training in that biblical story, when the day they were, you know, that Christ was apparently crucified, one of the last things apparently that they offer that he said was, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. And I go, this applies to every damn one of us, because
Right.
the people that have caused a problem in our lives, did they cause the problem because their conscious mind said this was a wonderful thing to do? Or did they cause the problem because they've been programmed to live that life? So, you know, it's sort of like, forgive them. That doesn't mean you have to be with them and stay with them or anything. You can just forgive them and say, I know that what you're expressing is not you. What you're expressing is a program, that you are this higher level. But if you're going to continue expressing the program, I'm going to go now, because I don't want to be in the program here. But the reality is, if people understood this, forgiving people for their trespasses, if that's the word, uh, is an acknowledgement that they spiritually, they didn't do that. They did it unconsciously. It was subconscious. It was not even in their awareness that they did it. So we have to look at people that do wrong and go, well, inside there's a good person, but in front of that is a bad program.
You know, if
And that's
this
really
this
important.
brings me to a point where if we had about 3 more hours, I would ask you about, is there such a thing as real evil in the world? Is there such a thing as real darkness, or is it just the absence of light? And maybe we're going to have to get into that on one of our interviews.
I think we should, because that gives me an opportunity to come back and be with you again.
All right, Bruce, I'm going to have to cut it now. Thank you so
Well,
much, man.
I want to thank you for this opportunity, but more importantly, I want to thank the community out there that's listening to this, because those are the individuals that have the opportunity to take this awareness, if they so desire, and manifest a completely different life. And that's what the point of all this is. We can teach them, but until we're living it, I can't teach them. That's what happened in the beginning. I could teach them all the rules, but I wasn't living it, so why would they listen anyway?
Well, listen, Dara said to say hello, and I say the same thing to Margaret. Say hello to Margaret for me.
I surely will do that. And I'm
Okay.
so glad that both of us recognize the most important and valuable component of love in creating the world that we want to be in. Thank you. Thank our watchers and listeners out there, because
All right.
they're participants in this amazing adventure.